Welcome to David's Life and Observation Podcast and David the Sun Devil's YouTube. Quick update on a few things. I've been traveling lately. Sorry I haven't posted a video as of late. I've been able to watch the news though, and I've done some digging on a case that needs further scrutiny, at least needs to be reopened, in my opinion, is the Rodney Reed case that's being and it's already being investigated by numerous outlets as far as news go, and a lot of celebrities have attached themselves to the case because they quite frankly don't believe that Rodney Reed is guilty of the crime of murder, and it's already been proven that the former ex-fiance of the woman that was killed was a violent terrorist thug who actually was a police officer, and he was convicted of rape. Is doing 10 years in prison, or did 10 years. I'm not quite sure if he's already done the 10 years. But it just goes to show that this guy is and was out of control, and new evidence by forensic experts have proven that Reed couldn't have been involved, and have shown enough people with a lot of backing behind them, and enough people, and have convinced enough people that he is innocent, and then that putting him to death would be absolutely wrong. And we see this in, guess what state? Texas, of all states. Texas, the most judicially corrupt state ever. It's just the worst state when it comes to policing. Every law enforcement officer in Texas, in my opinion, that I've ever encountered or seen on YouTube, or just dealing with cases and talking with friends and family, anybody who's ever dealt with a cop from Texas knows they are scumbags, tyrants, and that they are that they will do anything they can to throw you in a cage and throw away the key. This man has been on death row since '96, and they're trying to commute his sentence or talk to the governor to get a stay of execution. And I believe that needs to happen. If a person's been wrongfully accused and new evidence shows that he couldn't have done it, and more evidence leans towards the husband or the fiance doing it, why is that not being considered? Why is the case not being reopened? What kind of police work was done? And there's been flaws in the investigation that were obvious back then, like not searching the home of the young woman that was murdered, as well as the ex-fiance's home. That didn't happen. She was absolutely having an affair or a tryst with Rodney Reed, but that was not motive for him to murder. And here's exactly what happened. An ex cop and his buddies during that time investigated and needed a scapegoat. And why not go after the lover of the fiance? Because that's an easy scapegoat. That is somebody who is easy to target and throw behind bars for the rest of his life, even though the scumbag that did it is wearing a badge and a gun. Dude's a convicted rapist. Dude probably did this, he's probably been doing his whole career, and finally got caught. And he put a gun to a woman's, here's what he did for the rape. Girl gets, calls for a domestic battery situation. He goes and picks her up, drives her to his place, puts a gun to her head, makes her bend over the squad car, and then does his thing, and then has the audacity to give her his card and say, hey, my kids have soccer practice tomorrow, you better be there or else. Or if you tell anyone, I will kill you. What? I mean, come on. And he only gets 10 years for that? That's attempted murder. That's rape. I mean, that's all sorts of things. Kidnapping. And the dude only gets 10 years? It sounds eerily familiar with Texas law enforcement whenever they get in trouble. 10 years is the max they seem to do. They get hugs from judges, Amber Geiger. And we're supposed to be okay with that. And then there's a man actually in prison on death row for a murder that this animal committed. And we're supposed to be okay with that? No. The governor needs to get off his ass and commute the sentence, or at least provide a stay of execution so that a new trial can go and we can open up about what's going on and find out who really did it. If there are some diehard people who are like, oh no, that man Rodney Reed shouldn't be released from prison without a proper, thorough reinvestigation into the crime, then that's what should happen. But the officers back then already fucked up and could have already contaminated every possible angle that they could use. And it's just, it's why is that always the tail of the tape? Why is there always a shoddy investigation? They need a conviction quick. So they pull out all the stops, call all the good old boys, call all the white people that you could possibly stick in the jury room, and convict a black man of something he had there's no forensic evidence of him doing. Is there forensic evidence of him having had sex with her? Yes. But that's seriously, it was seriously because they did have an affair going on. And the butthurt cop fiance found out, murdered her, and then framed Rodney Reed. We cannot let the Klan win. We cannot let these good old Southern Texas racist pricks get away with this shit. We can't. The time for that shit has come to an end. The time for cops getting a slap on the wrist, 10 years, and then being hugged by judges, and essentially getting away with murder or attempted murder has got to fucking stop. This, if it doesn't happen, if this guy does get executed, and the evidence shows, and if it's proven to the American people, enough people, that the evidence show that there is doubt, so the man shouldn't have gotten the fucking murder conviction, and then he should definitely bring on a new set of eyes and a new investigation into what occurred. But if the American people, after reviewing the evidence, conclude that this man could not have committed murder, and the state of Texas murders him anyway, the state of Texas should take every individual officer, prosecutor, and judge that was involved in the original case and execute them. Absolutely. They should be executed or by public hanging in the town square in front of everybody and television. Because that's what is needing to, that's where real justice is, because they're going to end up murdering an innocent man, and at least 1 out of 9 people on death row are innocent of the crime anyway. All of the crimes need to be heavily scrutinized forensically and everything, so that we make sure we are putting to death the right people. Now, whether or not you're okay with the death penalty or whatever, personally, if there's video of someone committing a heinous murder, and there's, witness testimony and all that, and there's beyond a shadow of a doubt, that person committed murder, and they admit to the murder, everything like that, then you should be able to just walk them outside the courtroom after the conviction and put a bullet in their head, save the taxpayers a goat load of money, save themselves the misery of sitting in prison for the rest of their lives, or meeting their death at some random point in the future. But yeah, the convictions need to be solid. There needs to be video evidence. There needs to be witness testimony. And here's the problem with just witness testimony is how often do people recant? Rape. It's a huge thing where a lot of people are accused rapists. They're put on the sex offender registry. Come to find out that they never committed the rape. That they were that women, the woman or women in plural, conspired to have this man convicted, and then their testimony and everything, and then the evidence doesn't point towards it, and it's a he said she said, and the guy always ends up getting screwed, always. It needs to stop. Rodney Reed, I would be happy with, the American people would probably be happy with a reopening of the trial, a stay of execution, and a more thorough investigation by a lot of parties, because this is a very interesting case for people. Outside of that, the governor, if he reviews the evidence himself, finds conclusions with the experts to be accurate, and those experts are saying that he couldn't have done it, and take another look at the fiance and then all the other officers who did an investigation, who are probably part of the same fucking department, they all need to be rousted from their retirement, pulled into the courtroom, and questioned thoroughly. And there's going to be a chink in the armor somewhere, and the real murderer is going to come to justice. That's what should fucking happen. We need to do something about this, people. Get the word out. Rodney Reed needs a stay of execution until the evidence is reviewed, and they can make an informed decision on what to do. Prosecutors never ever want to be wrong, because once it's overturned and once they're found to be wrong, Rodney Reed is going to sue the state of Texas. He's going to sue, and he rightfully should, and should rightfully win. Hands down. Because they're going to try and pull a fast one, and here's what's going to happen. If it gets overturned, or he gets commuted or whatever, and if they reopen the case, they find that he couldn't have done it, that there is doubt, and that forensically it doesn't make sense that he did it, and he gets released from prison, and they've taken, since 96, they've taken 40 years of his life, almost 30 years of his life. They should really be sued. They should be absolutely sued, and he should be compensated for the amount of time he spent behind bars, accused of a heinous crime that he never committed. And the prosecutors, not only should they have taken reassessed a W on their record, or an L on their record, they should be brought to trial for wrongful prosecution. They should be brought to trial for refusing to listen to new evidence and refusing to believe anyone but him did it, because that just shows their bias, and that just shows that they're heavily invested in the good old boy system. That's exactly what that shows. Prosecutors should be bulldogs. Correct. They should be bulldogs, and they should, they should go for convictions for people who actually committed the crime. Not go for a conviction with every case, regardless of the committed a crime or not. It should be, that's where the checks and balances come in. We don't need a prosecutor going after people who didn't commit a crime relentlessly, and then lying to themselves and the public about what took place. And the defense attorneys, as soon as you get done with the case of freeing him, you should absolutely put a lot of work in to get him compensated for the years of his life taken. Rodney Reed, in my opinion, just everything that I've read, everything that I've seen, all of the interviews, points towards it being impossible for him to have ever committed the crime. However, if it makes the conscience of everybody okay, and of course the young woman's family is going to want justice. So a lot of them died thinking that they've already had justice, and to for the family to realize decades later that the real man who did this is, yeah, behind bars, but the real man who did this is a lying thug ass cop, or was, should infuriate them further, and then he should be convicted of the murder and swiftly killed. But there's going to be doubt thrown on that too, because the only ones that did the investigation of the Good Old Boys Club is the Good Old Boys Club. And that needs to stop too. Outside agencies absolutely have to start doing the investigation when anything involves one of their own in any department. In fact, agencies from outside the city, maybe even outside the state, should come in and do the investigation, because it would be more impartial to the situation. And that's my 2 cents on that. Let's reopen the case. Let's take another look at Rodney Reed before we put possibly an innocent man to death. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. I did get a sweet sweater from my twin brother. That's what I'm doing in Washington. I'm visiting family. And yeah, check out the Rodney Reed case. Look into everything you possibly can, and then, make a decision yourself. I mean, the evidence is definitely leaning the other direction, where the fiance would be the murderer instead of Rodney Reed. But, I mean, we don't know. We don't know a lot of things because they fucked up the investigation way back when. And it's sad that a lot of Rodney Reed's family, who were alive then, who are probably not alive now. And I know you're talking decades, but then there are people that could have died in that time frame, died thinking, yeah, Rodney Reed's innocent, but he's going to die for the crime of someone else. So let's make both families happy. Find the right murderer, find the correct person, and let's get justice. And I'm sick and tired of cops literally getting away with murder, or getting away with nonsense and getting very, very light sentences as to what it should be. Again, thank you for tuning into David's Life and Observation podcast and David the Sun Devil's YouTube. Have a great day.